in Wagner News, we have a special segment where we are headed to the streets to understand constitutional change worldwide.
The Constitution provides fundamental stability for democracy and federalism in Australia. For the Constitution to remain relevant and fair, it must be able to adapt to the society it governs. However, it must be rigid enough so that the Constitution doesn't get changed with every blast of popular opinion. Now let's see what the Aussies have to say. Let's talk to that man over there.
Oh shit, am I not allowed to drink in this park? I swear I'm over 18.
Well, it's 9 a.m.
You're right, it is a bit late to be starting.
Anyway, do you mind if we ask you a couple questions about the Constitution and the referendum process in Australia?
The what? Yeah, alright, let's have a chat, why not?
We've been seeing all this going around about a 2023 voice referendum. Do you think your ability to vote in the referendum process is important?
Yeah, mate, look, I don't need some big document that supposedly runs the country and no one gets to put their 2 cents into what it is. Like, you hear all this talk about democracy and the Constitution and like if you didn't even know what it is, you didn't even get a say in it.
Well, it seems like you would then support the requirement that for the Constitution to be changed. The proposal has to be supported by a double majority?
Double majority? Who's that?
More like, what's that? Under Section 128 of the Constitution, a proposal to change the Constitution must be supported by a majority of voters in a majority of states.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Look, I'm a humble Victorian myself, and I don't need none of those old New South Wales mates getting their say just because there's more of them.
Well, you're not wrong. Given that only 4 out of 45 proposed amendments to the Constitution have been successful, seems like somewhere in the process, the Constitution has been set in stone with no tool to break it out. I'd put it to you though, only 5 proposals have failed by not achieving a majority of voters in a majority of states. There are 2 more requirements under Section 128. First, proposals must be passed by both the House of Representatives and Senate, and then must also be supported by a majority of voters overall in referendum to be passed.
Oh, for real? That sounds complicated, mate. Doesn't seem like it's much of a tug of war between states, more like we can't sing Kumbaya and just do as what we want as a country.
That's definitely something to consider. Do you think though that it's important for a proposal to have the support of the people overall for it to succeed?
I mean, yeah, it's whatever succeeds in changing the Constitution and just whatever the people think. Make sure that it's not just ScoMo just deciding how it all goes. Lets me sleep at night knowing that it's what the people want.
It has been seen that 3 requirements must be met for the Constitution to be successfully changed in Australia. Number 1, it must be supported by a majority of voters in a majority of states. Number 2, it must be supported by a majority of voters overall. And number 3, it must be supported by both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Considering that only 8 of 45 referendums have been successful, this puts a question to whether any other national model can be used to show how constitutional amendment can better reflect contemporary society.
Hey, do you know where the slopes are around here?
Oh, a bit warm for down under.
I was getting a bit hot, not gonna lie.
Oh, you're not from Australia?
No, I'm from Switzerland. Anyway, I'm gonna go find the slopes.
Actually, would you have 5 minutes for an interview?
5 minutes of my time, but hurry up.
Thank you. Seems like you're pretty in touch with constitutional matters in Switzerland.
Yeah, of course. So I think I speak for most of Switzerland in that there is a continuous dialogue between us and our elected representatives, leading to a politically active culture in Switzerland with public engagement with constitutional issues. Public involvement in constitutional amendment allows for modern concerns to be incorporated that weren't considered by the Constitution's drafters. This isn't all just talk. Since 2000, Switzerland has held 81 referendums led by popular initiative.
Wow. Well, what do you mean you guys get a say in how the proposals have come about? No, scooch, no. No one in Australia except those bloody politicians has anything to do with the Constitution.
Wow. Well, I think you've just touched on that whilst lobbyists and society can encourage reform, because only federal parliament can formally initiate amendment, this has led to public sentiments of alienation, dissatisfaction, political apathy and cynicism towards constitutional reform.
Yeah, that checks out. I heard that apparently the 2023 referendum is the first one that we've had in 18 years in Australia. How many referendums have we even had anyway?
Well, since 1901, Australia has only held 44 referendums, and only 8 of those have succeeded.
Really? We've had 81 referendums led by popular initiative since 2000 alone. Sounds like if Australia adopted popular initiative referenda, their constitution wouldn't be so silent and lifeless, and you guys would actually care about constitutional issues. So today we head to the streets to get the public's view on the political hurdles in Australia. Let's go. Hey sir, do you mind if we interview you today about the political hurdles in Australia?
I'm trying to do my Centrelink. I just come back from the hospital. You know what? We gotta walk and talk there.
Okay, let's go. So when there's a referendum in Australia, do you think you understand the procedures of the Constitution and what the referendum is changing well enough to have an informed vote?
I couldn't even tell you what a referendum is, mate. I just know that when the news tells me to go vote, I go to the local primary school because
Yeah.
they've got the best sausage system.
So the referendum is what you vote on. It's the procedure the government chooses to use in order to change the constitution so that the public vote was the most crucial aspect of success. We're actually filming. Do you mind just facing this?
Oh, sure. So you're saying my vote matters?
Yeah, of course, mate. The double majority rule means everyone votes matters. So because we have to agree on a national and state level.
Right. So my vote matters, but I don't even know what I'm voting about. I tried listening to the news and I even read the ABC for the first time. There's just too many people saying different things and I don't know what's facts or lies.
Right, that's a good point. Do you think the politicians are accurately and effectively explaining all the aspects of the referendum?
Not at all, mate. This voice thing is so confusing. One person saying vote no because they'll take my backyard, and then another person saying vote yes to close the gap. Like, I need my backyard for Friday drinks with the boys, right? But I'm also sick of seeing Indigenous people not being treated right. Like, they're my mates.
Right, so you're not sure who to trust or who to listen to?
Exactly right, mate. I've got no clue. I don't trust any of these politicians. And the media seems kind of biased, I can't lie. Like, they won't tell me about both sides. I want to hear both sides. I'm just confused.
Okay, so I think a lot of Australians feel that way, and it's a big reason why constitutional change is so difficult to achieve in Australia. Thanks for your time today. Enjoy your snag.
Thank you. I'm going to get it now.
Yeah, good luck with Centrelink. I've managed to find a Canadian in the maple syrup aisle at Coles who is willing to speak to us today about Canada's constitution. Welcome, Cam.
Hi guys, I'm Cam. I like hockey.
Okay, as a Canadian, do you think people in Canada are confused about the mechanisms of constitutional change or what the topic of the change is?
Oh, that's a very good question. Canada has dealt with similar issues to Australia with, in terms of mistrust and bias and all those things to do with the media and not trusting politicians. And to do that, to fix those issues, Canada bypassed those systems and we tried to use uncontaminated information by making citizens' assemblies.
Great. So what's a citizen assembly?
Well, I was actually in one of these. I do really like talking about this. They're quite cool. It's pretty simple. So it's a group of random people, public from Canada, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
They get picked at random, kind of like a jury, and then they get put in a room, and then they get funneled information that's accurate, uncontaminated, not biased, about procedures of constitutional change, the information of the referendum, and then their role is to try to understand this and then give their honest thoughts about it to the public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's the public talking to the public about issues that affect the public?
Exactly. If the public don't trust politicians and the media can't be trusted, why use them? You may as well just use the public.
Yeah, so that actually makes a lot of sense. It would really help minimise some of the biggest political hurdles. There'd be more trust and less confusion, equaling more effective constitutional change.
You get it. The Aussies should really make some of these. I think it would really help.
Yeah, for sure. So what about the legal hurdles in Canada? Are the procedures to change your constitution effective?
Well, in 1981-82, we actually updated our constitution, changed it a little bit, because we were kind of sick of being Britain's little kids, always having to just ask for permission to change things. When we updated it, we developed multiple procedures. So depending on the part of the Constitution that was being changed, you would use a certain procedure.
Yeah, okay. So what are the most important ones we should know about?
You ask, that's a tough question on the spot. Hang on, let me get Siri up and you can ask again.
What are the most important legal hurdles in Canada?
Give Siri a second. How's the weather?
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
Siri has said we have the unanimity formula, sure, which allows part of the Constitution to be modified only with the unanimous consent of all the provinces plus the 2 houses of Parliament. So that's the first one. We also have the 750 formula, which allows amendments to be passed only if identical resolutions are adopted by the House of Commons, the Senate, and 2/3 or more of the provincial legislative assemblies, representing at least 50% of the total population of the provinces.
Okay, thank you, Siri. So both of those are kind of similar to Australia, where making sure the majority of the population agrees is crucial to success.
Yeah, so, I mean, referendums are quite rare in Canada. We've only ever had 3 at a federal level.
Yeah.
They were 1898 on Prohibition.
Yeah.
We had 1942 on World War II conscription. And then we also had 1992 on the Charlottetown Accord.
Yeah.
I think those are correct. And because we've only had 3 of them, they're quite rare. But due to the procedures we put in place, I guess, yeah, you could say that Canada is of the same opinion that the public should have a big voice in constitutional change and in referendums, and it's just a really important part.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you think that Canada has better modes of constitutional change compared to Australia?
I'd say because our 750 formula is quite similar to double majority that you have, because it's quite similar, and based on our constitutional history only having like 3 referendums, I'd say on a legal level, Canada and Australia are probably quite similar, but as I was saying before, we absolutely smoke use on a political level. Like, the citizens' assemblies, they do God's work. So whilst our systems may not be better, I think they're better understood.
Yeah, that's a perfect summary, I think. Thank you so much for your time, Cam.
That's right, I'm Cam, I like hockey.
I have constitutional expert Marcus here with me right now. Thank you for joining us today. Are there any other methods available in Australia to change the Constitution?
Yes, under Section 71, the High Court has the ability to provide incremental constitutional amendment by adapting their interpretation of the Constitution according to changing societal values and concepts of justice.
Yeah, so how does this help the Constitution to reflect modern Australia?
It has helped the Constitution to reflect modern Australia by compensating for the rigidity of formal procedures under Section 128, providing an informal and less onerous path for constitutional amendment.
Yeah, are there any examples you can provide us?
Yeah, this was seen in the Tasmanian Dam cases, where the court in the 1980s reassessed the scope of Commonwealth power under Section 5139 to hold that laws that implement foreign treaties that Australia is party to are valid.
Yeah. So it actually turns out that Marcus is not a constitutional expert and was meant to say Section 5129, not Section 5139. And I know this and I didn't do a law degree. Prison must have really got to his head. So would this be an issue to the separation of powers and representative government in Australia?
Look, this is certainly an issue to consider. Because High Court justices are elected via judicial appointment by the executive under Section 72, rather than election by the public, constitutional amendment this way does risk breaching the separation of powers by transferring the power to amend the Constitution from elected government to an institution not directly elected by the public. This raises concerns of the integrity of representative government in Australia overall.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your input. They were very interesting. So thank you for joining us today. So I actually got fired because Marcus decided to sue, and I instead got a law degree. Yeah, so thanks for tuning into Wagner News. Hope to see you soon.